But starting us off, man, hot or not, go ahead and why don't you start us off this week?
All right. Starting it off, hot or not, the NFC looks to be the better conference right now after week one.
I'm going to say that's a little bit of a hot take. The 49ers, as I said, man, elite team. Definitely, up there in conversation for top 3 teams if you want to put them there. You still got your Eagles. The Chiefs did take a loss to the Lions, so I see where you get the NFC narrative from. No Travis Kelce. Kadarius Toney just looked like he was scared on the football field, trying to catch a pass. Some AFC teams drop in stock after week one, including the Bengals and Ravens, but I kind of expect them to turn it around. For the Bengals, Joe Burrow faced his kryptonite in a bad weather game, so kind of give him the benefit of the doubt. The Ravens, they're the team that really looks shaky to me. We'll talk about the Steelers in a little bit as well, and then, with the Jets and their injury to Aaron Rodgers, how they're going to shape out, and the Bills' woes as well. So I see, I just think it's a little too early to hit the panic button on the AFC when we came in with them so strong. I think we got to give them, a few weeks to kind of get it set in stone, just week one. But the NFC, the stock is definitely rising. They're on the come up.
All right. Here's one you'll like. Hot or not, the Dolphins are the best team in the AFC.
I mean, I'm going to go ahead and say this is not a hot take, man. They're definitely up there for the conversation. I was sitting there watching that game on Sunday, and I was like, when the Dolphins had the ball driving, I was like, this is Tua's moment. They kind of set in stone, like, hey, this is why they took me above Herbert. This is why I deserve to be in that conversation of elite quarterbacks in this league. And he went out, delivered. I think it was a 3rd and 10, steps up in the pocket, throws on a run. Tyreek Hill down the sideline. I mean, he took a shot on 3rd and 10. When in your own territory where you just maybe want to make it manageable because possibly could have been a 4-down scenario, he hit Tyreek on that play, and just the throws he made all game. There was a couple questionable where he threw in a Tyreek double cover, underthrew, but Tua was making great throws. The defense stepped up when it needed. Vic Fangio, not a big blitzer, dials up that blitz late in the 4th on that last drive, had Justin Herbert thrown off. Once they come together, get that run defense settled, that's where they struggled. I think they definitely deserve to be up in that conversation. So not just yet a, hot take. So.
All right, yeah, the Dolphins, they definitely look good. We'll talk about them. And then my last one is hot or not. When Cooper Kupp returns, the Rams can have the best offense in the league.
That is just a bit of a hot take. I mean, offense is still good. Matt Stafford, gunslinger. He looked healthy. That elbow finally looks good. Happy for Matthew Stafford over there in, L.A. We're just talking about Puka. I forget, whatever. Yeah. We're just talking about him. Van Jefferson, solid. Tutu Atwell had a really good game as well as kind of that slot receiver. Cooper Kupp comes back healthy. If he looks like, even 75% of his former self, definitely boost up. They could be in the conversation for a top offense possibly, but I just don't think they're there just yet because I think Cam Akers had 21 touches and maybe like 28 yards in the running game.
Wasn't that efficient, yeah.
So, they got some places to clean up, but passing-wise, we know what Stafford can do and when he gets it going healthy. So, we'll see in a couple of weeks. They could be up there if they get that run game, decent at least.
Mm-hmm. And those are my 3 for this week one.
Okay. I'm going to start you off, man. Hot or not, Pickett's preseason was a fluke.
I'm going to say that's not a hot take, man. Coming into week one before this week, I was the, Steelers truther on Kenny Pickett's side, perfect passer rating or, best quarterback in the preseason. But week one, when you're going against the best defense or, one of the best defenses in the NFL, it's a lot different than, the vanilla schemes you see in the preseason. 49ers were dialing up the whole game. It just looked like Kenny Pickett and his receivers were either not on the same page or just Kenny Pickett was late. A lot of miscommunication. Offense just was non-existent. Couldn't run the ball. Passing game wasn't there either. and that 49ers defense looks to be just as good as they were last year. So it could be, maybe if they were playing a team that wasn't the 49ers, they would look better. But there was also some things on the Steelers side where it didn't really matter who they were playing. The Steelers made mistakes in terms of, not being on the same page. Kenny Pickett missing throws, injuries. Deontay Johnson went out with a hamstring. So it was like the perfect storm for that Pittsburgh Steelers offense. So right now, I'm going to say it's not a hot take saying that it was an overreaction or Kenny Pickett's preseason was, kind of fool's gold. They seem to be in some trouble right now.
And, I mean, a stellar performance from TJ Watt on the other side of the ball. You get 3 sacks, kind of, deflates the offense, but didn't really look like that. Kind of gives team momentum, and Steelers couldn't capitalize.
I would say, good job for TJ Watt, but defensively, it wasn't, the best showing for the Steelers as well, especially Patrick Peterson on the outside talking, a little smack before the game.
Tells.
Saying they got some tells. We'll talk about it afterwards, and then proceeding to get scored on at least 2, I think 3 times. But yeah, Brandon Ayuk was definitely cooking them. So might be time to, hang it up for Pat Pete.
Hey, he's up there. It went from Joe Hayden to Pat Pete on the back end of careers. I mean, Pat Pete a little more than Joe Hayden, but I mean, we'll talk about the Steelers as well. And hot or not, the Jets will make a move for a new quarterback this year.
I think it's a hot take, especially at this point. Well, I don't think it's a hot take, but I don't think they'll make a move. Like, I could see it happening. Like, everyone's saying, like, oh, Brady's going to come back.
Do you think it would be a free agency move, or do you think they would be willing to do a trade?
I mean, it's tough to do the trade because they just gave up stuff in terms of draft capital for Rodgers. So now are you looking at players? I know they got a really deep defensive line. Maybe one of those young developing pass rushers could be, a source. But I think at this point, you like that team. You like what you have. All training camp, you got your roster. All those guys have been there making plays. So I think you would try to go the free agent route. Now there's names, Carson Wentz is out there. I believe Jameis Winston. So there's a few names. Tom Brady speculations. But I just think at this point, man, you kind of just got to just chalk it up and just hope Zach Wilson can just not turn the ball over as much and just play kind of, distributor instead of hero playmaker like you wanted him to be at the number 2 overall pick. Be more like Brock Purdy and just, the last pick in the draft, and just be like a conductor, just get the ball out to your playmakers. You saw the amazing catch from Garrett Wilson. Breece Hall coming back, looking solid. So there's talent on that Jets roster. You just need Zach Wilson to kind of control it. But, I mean, it's tough. They're in a super, super tough position. Aaron Rodgers going down with that injury before even completing a pass. Jets are definitely in a very, very weird spot right now, but I would say they just stick it out with Zach Wilson. He's been there last couple years. He knows the system. So I think they just stick with Wilson.
And I saw reports apparently Jets coaches couldn't sleep last night after losing Rodgers.
Yeah, I saw that.
But one person I do like that if they could get a trade is Jacoby Brissett, backup quarterback over there in Washington. Played solid for the Browns last year, even won them some games, and he just had to be, that Brock Purdy type player. He's a veteran that leads. Carson Wentz has been a name out there. Jameis, I think Matt Ryan as well. So definitely some names that have been thrown out there. But, I mean, watching the game last night, Zach Wilson, we know his arm talent. He could zip the ball in there. It's just those mistakes and those, trying to do too much like Josh Allen did last night. And I guess we'll talk about the Bills later on in the episode. But that's all my hot or nots.